Hey guys, just a quick video we're doing today for my 2021 WRX. We just got the Cobb access port, so we're gonna plug it in and see what we got. I actually bought this used from somebody in the community. He had a MAP MA Performance Pack on there for a 2017. Unfortunately, it's locked, so I can't use it. But if you go to Cobb's website, you can actually download tunes for whichever WRX you're looking for free, because I mean you already paid the price of the access port. So this is just a quick video on how to install it, get the map loaded on, and we're going to do a couple of test runs. So here we are on the inside. We've got our ODB2 sensor cable. We got our Cobb access port. I'm just going to do my best to do a lot of this with one hand. So plug this guy in like that, and I'm going to step out, show you guys where that sensor is located. I've got a little flashlight. So if you look under here, it is right there. That guy right there. So let me get my cable. Okay. Just plug it in. It's good to go. And now, let me get my flashlight. Alright, so now, everything's caught on. It's a very, very long cable. That's kind of a pain. I need to figure out where to store it. Anyway, so here we go. So, okay, I do know that it wants me to have the car in the on position. If you've got a key, that's just turning the key without putting your foot down on the clutch. In my case, I've got the push start, so don't hold the brake. Push the button once, push it one more time. When you hear all the fans and everything, you know you are in the on position. So I'm going to close the door because it's super cold outside. All right, so here we go. We got install. Middle button install, please. Oh, look. So it knows that it's a 2021. And this is kind of where the issue I ran into is when I loaded up the maps, it does have, so that's actually the one this 2021 WRX Stage 193 v400 is what I downloaded from Cobb's website for free. This Stage 0 v400 is basically it's a stock simulated map. Basically, it's a stock map from Cobb. So if we go down, you can see it's got a couple of others. For low wastegate, high wastegate, we don't really have any need for that. The Stage 193 v400, I wasn't sure exactly what that was for. I think that was actually for a 2021, but I wanted to make sure, so I got that from the website. So that's the exact one. So if you go down here, and this is for anybody who buys a used access port online, this is something that'll happen to you. So if you look, so these are actually maps for different mods that you can buy. So the big SF is the intake for 91, for 93. You got an economy mode. Redline, I'm not 100% sure exactly what that one is. I think that's the one where it pushes the rev limiter a little higher, I think. But Stage 1 Plus is actually the tune plus N intake. So we're not going to worry about that. Okay, so here we go. So this is where we ran into some issues. So there's the MA Performance 2016. This is what I wanted to use because I would prefer to use the MA Performance tune, but because it's locked to the model year. So everything has to match up from the ECU. So in this case, it's showing up at 2021. I could not use this. So I talked to the guy, and he's actually going to email. Yeah, these are all specific to the 2016. He's going to email MA Performance to see if they're willing to just send another updated map for free since he already purchased this. He can just say like, hey, I updated WRXs or whatever. If not, it's not that big a deal. I also emailed MA Performance. If they're willing to just, send me an OTS for, 50, 60 bucks, I don't really mind doing that. This is just temporary until I go Stage 2, which I do want to go Stage 2 maybe in March. Maybe a little later than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to install this one right here, 2021 WRX Stage 193 v400. Another thing to remember is if you buy a Cobb access port, definitely install the Access Manager on your computer. You can plug it in via USB right here. And what it will do is it will update all of these maps that are available to the car for free, because you paid an excess amount of money for this, for the tuner itself, for this access port. So they do give you updates to different maps, that's how I was able to download and install, or download and put this one onto USB. So let's do that. So we're going to select this map. Let's see. Warning says export over any other OEM or Cobb software. We know that'll blow up. No big deal. 10-minute car battery is recommended, but we don't really need that because cars are pretty fresh. We'll wait and see. And I'll speed this part up when I'm editing. Okay, so what it did earlier was actually pull the factory ECU data, just back it up. Now it is installing the actual new tune to the car. All right, the tune is installed. It says, please turn and leave the ignition in the off position to begin vehicle reinitialization. So for push start, this is basically just pushing the button one time, and it should turn the car off. And that's that. Or if you've got a key, you already know to turn the key off. So we'll leave the position in the off to begin reinitialization. Leave the ignition key off. Okay. That one's a lot faster than the other. I think the flashes and the backups were maybe like 3.5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. Reset procedure. Okay. So same thing for me is just push it once, push it twice. Okay, hit OK. Now this should confirm and tell us if we're where we need to be. Cool. Installation successful. Please turn off ignition key for at least 15 seconds. Okay. So anything else on here? Please reminder to connect Access Manager for, yeah, that's just saying to download the Access Manager. Oh, cool. So it's pretty much ready to go. It's got our gauges and everything. So let's do that. Let's turn off our car. Oh, missed it. All right, leave it off for about 15 seconds. And we can take a look at a couple of things on here while we're waiting. So the most important thing that everybody likes to have is the different gauges, which we'll have a separate video on data logging and gauges and what we should have here and what we want, what we're looking for. So these are the different things. Your fine knock learn is kind of important. This one right here that so it's trying to connect your vehicle. Oh, yeah, we'll cancel out that. We'll come back to that. Then you've got performance metrics where you can do like 0 to 60 times and your quarter mile times. This is really cool to have. Engine diagnostics, if you ever do need to do something like that. You can see what tune you've got installed, and then you can also completely uninstall this if you want to sell this to somebody else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this for now. I don't have a mount. I don't have the mount installed. I've got a one of those sticky mounts for the window, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. I may actually go grab it here in a second. And then I'm going to switch over to my other incredibly amazing camera setup back here, and we're going to go for a couple of drives and see how it feels, and we'll talk about the tune. So turning this video off. We'll see you in a sec. Okay, now we are in the car, and the 15 seconds has long been done, so we're going to go for a little drive. So this is actually me turning the car on for the first time while you guys are in it. So if it blows up, we're in it together. So here I actually tried to install the mount, but the tape it doesn't even work. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the car. There it is. 2021 WRX with the Cobb which I will say, when I was buying this car, I actually could not find a lot of 2021 videos for Cobb or for MA Performance. Usually it was 2015 or 2016, 2017, 2018. I guess a lot of people were waiting for the 2022s, which originally was my goal. I was going to wait and see if I liked the shape or what the reviews were for it. I know it's controversial. I do like the car. I think it looks really good. But I originally wanted an STI, so I'm going to wait until the next version of the STI comes up, and I'll probably switch this out with that. But that's not going to be for another 2-3 years. So we're going to wait for it to heat up, and then meanwhile, I just kind of want to go through some of these gauges. Let's see. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see from that camera, but here I've got the gauges on, and here it's got everything we want to know. You have fuel pressure, dynamic advanced multiplier. We want that to be 1. Fine knock learn, we obviously want that to be 0. And it looks pretty good. I think we can go ahead and modify all of these to whatever we want. It's no big deal. So if we come back here, of course we got performance testing, so we got 0 to 60. So we'll try those out. Actually, what I want to do is I want to do a couple of 0 to 60s with the Cobb install, and then I also want to do some with the stock tune on. Now that we've got this and we have the Cobb stock tune that we can use, which is the stock simulated, we're going to try a couple of 0 to 60s on there and see what we can do. So here we can go into tune adjustments, adjust ECU settings. We can adjust the idle. We can do plus or minus 300 on the RPM on the idle. We can do flat foot shifting, which we're not going to do. This is not a drag car. I don't intend to use it as such. And we do have launch control here. Launch control is probably a good feature here for this car, because what will happen is if you've got the clutch in and you hold down the throttle a little bit, you won't see a lot of buildup on boost. But with launch control set to a certain RPM, if you do the same thing when you're holding down the clutch and you hold down the throttle a little bit, you will see boost being built up, upwards of a couple of pounds, maybe upwards to, we'll have to test that. We'll see what that looks like. But really that helps with launching the car, because now you have a strong amount of boost as soon as you let go of the clutch. Now that's the other thing, is a lot of people say maybe don't dump the clutch, just kind of feather it. You want to put up maybe like 35, 4,000 RPMs, and then just feather the clutch as you go and let it hook, and then just go. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the video here. We're just going to wait for the temperature. It's still at 90. It's very cold outside, so we'll wait for the temperature to kind of warm up a little bit, and then we'll go for a drive. Okay, so we're up to temperature. I took it around the block real quick just to kind of get the temperature up. The first things that you notice right away is boost does not come on at 2,000 RPM, or like what it did on the stock tune, which is very interesting because, and I will bring up the boost gauge here so we can kind of see, and actually I want to take out peak boost as well, which is interesting because that is and was the hardest part about driving this car. Is you start to pull away at 2,500-ish RPM, boost kicks in quite a bit, and you're trying to shift, and it's very jerky. Everyone has said this. Everyone knows this is how it is. Now this is a 2021, and I know that not much has changed in that regard between 2015 and 2021. People talk about the rev hang. The rev hang really wasn't that bad on 2021 models. With this one, I think the reason why you feel like it's really gone is because there's not that much boost going from first to second, and then going from second to third or whatever, right? So it feels really good, and this is hard to describe to somebody who has not driven this car, but if you've driven this car, you know that is a big issue. Now what's interesting is now boost really isn't kicking in until around 3,500 RPM maybe, which is a good 1,000 RPM up. And the big benefit for this being a daily driver, especially for me, I take my daughter to school every other morning, is now between 1,000 and 3,000 RPM, I don't have to worry about boosting, which saves me on gas. So if I'm cruising, because usually this car is, if I'm on cruise control going about 70, this car is sitting around 2,900 to 3,000 RPM. And usually I'm halfway into the boost gauge, just cruise control. No real reason for that. So really, that's going to be a big benefit alone. Yeah, I want the car to go faster, but I also need to be able to live with it. So personally, it feels like driving a regular car. Whereas I understand why Subaru wanted to have this feel like it's faster than it actually is. Because what would happen is after 4,000 RPM, the torque curve just drops massively. So you could feel the car getting slower as you are driving, and that kind of sucks. So it's so interesting. You can feel it right away. It almost feels like I forgot. People say, oh well, it's like learning how to drive manual again. You're just relearning where to launch it. Now before this, I had a 2012 GTI that had a very soft clutch, and boost didn't really kick in. Boost kicked in pretty early, like around 2,600 RPM, but it was really easy to get the car going. This is very similar to where now, right now I'm at 900 RPM. Normally the car would start moving at about 1,500 because the boost was already kicking in. Now here I actually have to give it a little bit more, like about 2,000, and now I'm going. As you can see, boost is still pretty low, down at a -10, and that first to second, so incredibly smooth because there's no boost. So we'll go. Oh, it feels good. It feels like a regular car, which I know a lot of people don't want their sports vehicle to feel like a regular car, but you're not driving crazy all the time. So I have not pushed it into boost as of yet. So this is going to be, we're going to head back. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's so smooth. I love it. And that was about 3,100 RPMs, and max we hit was 1.6 PSI. So we're going to come around over here and see. So about 3,000, yeah. About 3,000 is when it comes in, and we're sitting at a max of, it said 19 is where it hit max, but I think it's hitting around about 15, 16 and a half PSI. So that's very smooth. So gone is the sudden surge of acceleration, and it is replaced by a linear map after 3,000 RPM. Boost kicks in, and the car just keeps going. Instead of it, chugging, all of a sudden it's gone, and now it's slowed down a little bit, and now you're changing gears. So that's actually very nice. But I've been watching these videos of other people doing this for such a long time. This is what I expected. So let's come down to about, so we're in third at 31 miles per hour. We're sitting at 2,000 RPM, negative 11.5 boost. So I'm just going to kick it. And now boost kicks in. Yeah, that's pretty, it's quick in the sense that you expect it to be quick where you are. And the best way to explain that is between 1,000 and 2,500 RPM, you expect, okay, no boost. With the stock tune, you expect, okay, here comes a surge of boost, all of the boost right away. And then you're like, okay, now I've passed 5,000 RPM, I guess I'll just shift here because there's not much power left afterwards. Here, it just keeps going. And the best way to test that is, I don't have any special fancy camera mount that I can show you speedometer, and I don't want to hold the camera with one hand. So we'll figure out how we can do that. So we do have we'll stop here in a minute and take a look at our access port and make sure all our numbers are good. As you can see, we have a lot of straight road to even do this on with nobody turning in. random dirty Civic on the side of the road. Now, admittedly, that low rumble of boost you get just shifting, you kind of do miss it because it was cool to hear your turbo all over the place. But once we get the intake put in, we'll get some of that induction noise back on the lower RPM range. I'm trying to see if there's a good place. There's actually a really good spot right by where I live where we can do a couple of pulls. So, oh, the other nice thing is, this is a very specific scenario that I actually face a lot, is when I'm driving through my parking garage at my company, I gotta keep low speed, about 9 to 10 to 12 miles per hour, and I'm like going up the parking garage. The problem is, I always end up, if I'm in first gear, it's too much boost, but if I'm in second gear, it's not enough RPM, so I'm constantly having to regulate the first gear, second gear, or just like regulate first gear going under 9, going over 10, and like I'm constantly fighting the turbo. So this is something that's going to fix that because I can just stay in first without having to worry about over boosting. So here we're going to look at the access port, and we'll do a whole separate video on what we're looking at over here. Main things were making sure the dam is at 1, find knock lower than 0. Looks like feedback knock did go down to negative 1.4, but it's all acceptable. So everything is good. So here what I'm going to do is we'll do the performance part here. Let's see. So this is my first time doing this, so this is going to be interesting. Calculate 0-60 time. So we'll select that. Generate vehicle. Begin from. Is that lady gone? No. Maybe there's another place to do it than this. Obey traffic laws and do not put others at risk. Okay. So let's talk about the launch control. So launch control is set to 4,000 RPM. So without launch control, if I have the clutch in and 4,000 RPM, I'm not going to get a lot of boost. But now, since I have the clutch in and I go to 4,000 RPM, no, it still didn't do it. So let's see if I need to go and let's look at the launch control again. So tune, adjustments. Launch control RPM as well. Yeah, it's set to 4,000 RPM. So adjust idle. Use to smooth idle. Okay, well, we're not gonna worry about that. So let's go see. 0 to 60. Calculate 0 to 60. Yeah, that lady's far enough to where I think 0 to 60 will happen. So let's see. So what's interesting is no, okay, so that's interesting. So launch control isn't really doing what I thought that it would do. We're gonna have to read up on that. So okay, here we go. Well, now the problem is now I'm on an incline, so let me do it here. We'll do it here. Alright, so that was 60. It's pretty quick, but it no hard launch. It? Okay, it did not give me it did not give me a number. Okay, so now we're gonna try it again, but now we'll go back the other way. Alright, 0 to 60, here we go. Actually, this is actually flat, so 0 to 60, here we go. So what's interesting now is I am having to hit third gear to get to 60. .2 seconds. That's not bad. And that is not with a hard launch. Like, that is a fairly soft. All right, guys. So we just got home. You guys were on that little journey with me, checking out the tune. It's actually pretty good. I like it. It's smooth. I think it's going to give me some pretty good gas mileage, which I know that's not something that everybody's worried about, but it is the gateway to the rest of the tuning that we're going to be doing on this car. Hopefully, we'll be able to turn this into a series. This is actually supposed to be the second video for this new channel that I'm making just for the car. I might actually put it next to the rest of my gaming videos. I haven't decided yet, but hopefully you guys come along with the journey. Thanks so much.